We live in a world where the idea of privacy feels like an old myth, something we talk about nostalgically like a memory from another era. We still like to think we have it, that our personal lives are protected, that there's a boundary between us and the digital world. But that illusion is fading. Every moment we spend online, every device we touch, every app we use quietly chips away at the walls we believe still protect us. We tell ourselves that as long as we're not being watched through our cameras or listened to through our microphones, we're safe. But the truth is, we gave up privacy long before we even realized it. We didn't lose it suddenly. It disappeared through 1,000 small permissions we clicked without reading. Think about how much your phone knows about you. It knows where you sleep, how many steps you take, how fast you drive, and how often you unlock the screen at night. It remembers the faces you look at, the posts you linger on, the tone of your voice when you speak to a digital assistant. This isn't surveillance in the traditional sense. It's data collection wrapped in convenience. It feels harmless, even helpful. Your phone greets you with weather updates, recommends music that fits your mood, reminds you to stand up or drink water. It's so efficient that we rarely question what it's costing us. But that's exactly how the illusion works. Privacy hasn't been stolen, it's been traded silently for comfort. The illusion of privacy survives because we want it to. It's uncomfortable to imagine that we're being constantly analyzed not as individuals but as patterns of behavior. So we build comforting narratives. We tell ourselves, it's just algorithms, or they only use my data to make things better. We like the idea that the system is neutral, that it serves us, that we're still in control. But deep down, we sense that something's off. We can feel it every time an ad appears too perfectly timed, every time our search results seem to know what we meant instead of what we said. The digital world doesn't need to spy on us anymore, it just needs to listen to the echoes we leave behind. The loss of privacy isn't always visible, but it changes how we think and behave. When we know we're being observed, even by a machine, we start editing ourselves. We become careful with our words, our clicks, our expressions. We perform for the system, shaping our digital selves into something we believe will be accepted or rewarded. Over time, this quiet performance reshapes who we are. Privacy used to mean freedom, the freedom to think, to question, to make mistakes in silence. Without it, that inner freedom begins to erode. What's dangerous isn't just that companies and algorithms know so much about us. It's that we've stopped expecting privacy at all. We've stopped demanding it. The illusion feels easier to live with than the truth because the truth asks us to take responsibility. It asks us to disconnect, to say no, to value our mental and emotional independence more than our convenience. And that's hard to do in a world designed to keep us scrolling, buying, sharing, and accepting. The illusion of privacy still comforts us, but it no longer protects us. The sooner we wake up from it, the sooner we can start deciding what kind of digital future we truly want to live in. Our phones don't need to listen to us because they already understand us better than we understand ourselves. It's easy to imagine a hidden microphone eavesdropping on our conversations, recording our every word, but that's not how the modern world works anymore. The truth is far more sophisticated and far more unsettling. Our phones have learned to see patterns we can't see. Every tap, every scroll, every hesitation becomes a clue, a tiny piece of data that builds into a portrait of who we are. We are teaching these devices how to think about us, how to anticipate our desires, how to predict our behavior. And the most astonishing part is that we're doing it voluntarily, through every interaction we have with technology. Think about what happens when you pick up your phone. You might open a social app, check a message, watch a short video, or browse through recommendations. You're not just consuming information, you're feeding the machine. Each second of attention tells it something. How long you pause on a picture reveals what attracts you. The time you open an app tells it when you're most vulnerable to distraction. Even the speed of your typing, the emojis you use, and the words you delete before sending a message, all of it is data. To the human eye, these details are invisible. To the algorithm, their language. Over time, your phone doesn't just collect data, it learns your rhythm. It starts predicting what you want before you do. If you've ever had an ad appear just after thinking about a product, or a video recommendation that perfectly matches your current mood, that's not coincidence, it's calculation. The system doesn't need to hear your words, it needs only your actions. You've already told it everything through your behavior. It doesn't have to invade your privacy in the old-fashioned sense because you've opened the door wide without realizing it. What's happening here is a quiet evolution from listening to anticipating. We're moving from a world of reaction to one of prediction. The device doesn't wait for you to express interest. It presents it to you before you even form the thought. It gives the illusion of intuition, as if your phone somehow gets you. But that sense of understanding isn't empathy, it's exploitation. It's the result of millions of data points being analyzed to find the perfect way to keep you engaged. the perfect moment to sell, suggest, or manipulate. This predictive ability creates a strange kind of relationship between humans and technology. We start trusting our devices too much. We believe they know us, that their suggestions are harmless, even helpful. But beneath that comfort lies control. The more your phone knows about you, the more influence it gains over your decisions. It begins to shape your preferences, to narrow your options, to feed you content that confirms what you already believe. It's not listening, it's learning, and in doing so, it's guiding. This is the quiet danger of our time. We're not being watched in the traditional sense. We're being mapped, modeled, and predicted. Our phones don't just record the past, they simulate the future. And every time we interact with them, we make their predictions more accurate. It's not surveillance by sound, it's surveillance by pattern. And the result is a world where technology doesn't need to listen to our voices anymore, because it has already mastered the language of our behavior. The hidden algorithms working behind our screens are not just collecting information, they are quietly shaping our choices long before we make them. They sit in the background, invisible and tireless, learning from billions of interactions every second. They know which words make us pause, which colors draw our attention, and which emotions keep us scrolling just a little longer. What began as simple code to make our digital experiences more efficient has evolved into something far more powerful, a system that can subtly guide human behavior at scale without us even realizing it's happening. Every time you use your phone, an algorithm decides what you see next. It decides which video appears on your feed, which product is placed at the top of your shopping results, and which news stories are shown first. It does this by studying your habits, cross-referencing them with millions of others, and predicting what will hold your attention. It doesn't care if what it shows you is true, meaningful, or even good for you. It cares about one thing: engagement, because in the world of algorithms, attention equals profit. The longer you stay, the more valuable you become. This kind of influence operates silently. You don't feel it happening. You might believe you're exploring freely, making your own decisions, following your own curiosity. But the truth is, the path you walk online is being carefully curated. When an algorithm knows you well enough, it can make a choice to feel like your own. It knows how to show you something at the exact moment you're most likely to agree, most likely to buy, most likely to react. It doesn't manipulate through force. It manipulates through familiarity, feeding you what feels right, what feels comfortable, what feels like you. And that's the genius of it. You never sense the control because it looks like personalization. We call it recommended for you, as if it's a friendly gesture. But behind that label is a psychological process designed to keep you within certain boundaries of thought and behavior. You start to see less of the world outside your preferences, less of what challenges you, and more of what confirms what you already believe. Slowly, your perspective narrows, shaped not by your curiosity, but by a machine's prediction of what will keep you engaged the longest. Over time, this invisible steering changes how we think. We start confusing exposure with choice. We believe we're exploring freely, but in reality, we're being guided by invisible digital hands. The algorithm becomes a kind of silent partner in every decision, whispering suggestions that seem harmless but are anything but neutral. It affects what we buy, who we admire, what we value, and even what we fear. We used to think technology was a mirror, something that reflected us. But now it's more like a sculptor reshaping us bit by bit, shaping our digital selves in ways that serve its design. The real danger isn't that the algorithm knows us, it's that it quietly becomes the architect of our choices. It doesn't need to control us directly. It just needs to understand us well enough to make us believe we're still in control. Data has become the most powerful form of control in the modern world. It's not just information, it's influence, it's prediction, it's leverage. For centuries, power belonged to those who controlled land, money, or resources. Today, it belongs to those who control data. Every piece of information we share, our habits, preferences, and movements, adds to a system that understands not only how society works, but how individuals think. And with that understanding comes the ability to guide behavior on a global scale. This isn't control through force or fear. It's control through familiarity and dependency. It feels invisible because it's built into the rhythm of our daily lives. The most unsettling part is that we are the ones providing the fuel for this power. We feed the system willingly, often without realizing it. Every post, search, and click contributes to a vast network that learns how we react, how we make decisions, and what drives us emotionally. The result is a kind of modern currency, data as the new gold. But unlike gold, we don't own it. Once it's collected, it belongs to corporations, algorithms, and governments that use it to understand and influence entire populations. We like to think that we're in control of our digital lives, that the information we share is harmless, that the platforms we use are tools serving our interests. But those same platforms are quietly reshaping what we see, think, and believe. The data they collect doesn't just describe us, it defines the choices presented to us. The news we read, the opinions we encounter, even the emotions we feel when scrolling are all, in some way, filtered through the lens of data-driven design. When a system knows exactly what triggers your curiosity, what angers you, or what comforts you, it can gently steer you toward behaviors that align with its goals. Control has never been this subtle before. It's not about censorship or restriction, it's about redirection. When the system knows you better than you know yourself, it doesn't need to force your hand. It only needs to make one choice seem slightly more appealing than another. That's how data becomes control. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It makes manipulation look like convenience. It makes influence feel like freedom. And that illusion is what makes it so powerful. In this new world, the ones who control data have an advantage that kings and empires never had. They can shape perception itself. They can design digital realities that feel natural but are anything but neutral. They can predict social trends, political movements, even emotional shifts in entire populations with stunning accuracy. And with prediction comes persuasion. When you can foresee behavior, you can guide it. When you can guide it, you can control outcomes. We often think of control as something external, something we